Well, good morning, everyone. Happy Wednesday morning to you, and welcome back to Morning Musings. My name is Don K. Preston. I'm the president of Preterist Research Institute of Ardmore, Oklahoma. And here we are Wednesday. Don't forget, not a video on Thursday. On Friday, I'll have another video. Now, there's a possibility, there is a strong possibility, as a matter of fact, that I will not be able to have a video in response to Steve Gregg this Friday. Some things have come up, very important things. Pardon me. And if I get a chance to film before Friday, I'll do that. But this week is to say that this week is hectically busy is it's not that doesn't even approach of how incredibly busy this week is. So no guarantees for a Greg video, and it's possible, and all this is related to my technology. It's possible that I may not be able to do a video with Mike on Friday night to be aired on Saturday. I'm working on that. My technology is just giving me all sorts of fits. By the way, I received word that my regular camera that I use for doing my videos, I'm still at least a month out from having that repaired and returned to me. And what I'm using here on my laptop, I'm experiencing some difficulties with that, having to do with my processing and all that kind of stuff like that. I won't get into it. But anyway, by the way, let me do this. In September, I'm going to upgrade my phone. My wife says it's time for me to come into the 21st century. My cell phone at this time is a Microsoft iPhone 6S. Yeah, 6S. And in September, they're coming out with a 15. Now, one of the reasons I'm doing it is because they tell me that the 14, which will be like half price come September, they tell me that the 14 has incredible video quality. So I want to make an appeal to some of you techie groupies out there, gurus rather. I need a way to get an iPhone 14 to interface with my MacBook Pro with microphone so that I can edit my videos in my MacBook Pro, or learn how to edit videos with the iPhone 14. All right. So some of you guys out there, and I know there are some of you guys and gals out there that are brilliant technologically. So help me out, because in September, I'm going to get either a 14 or a 15, depending on financing. All right. So help me out and let me know. Is there a way to interface between 14 or 15 and my MacBook Pro, or is there a way to produce videos with a 14 or 15 and to be able to edit it and then upload it to YouTube? All right. Scares me to death. I've been doing perfectly fine with iOS 6, but it's starting to go wonky on me. So it's time, kicking and screaming into the 21st century. Okay. On today's video, I want to connect some more dots. Now, we have looked at Daniel chapter 12. We have looked at Matthew chapter 25, 31 and following. We even looked at Matthew chapter 13 and what have you. Pardon me. We've looked at 1 Thessalonians chapter 4. We've looked at Revelation 11. Been looking at Revelation chapter 20. So I want to connect some dots today with 2 Peter chapter 3 and Revelation chapter 20. Now, for those of you who do not know, I've written a book entitled The Elements Shall Melt with Fervent Heat. It is, to my knowledge, the first and the only full preterist commentary on 2 Peter chapter 3 that has ever been produced. But it's not strictly that. I mean, in other words, I don't isolate on 2 Peter chapter 3. I reach outside and show the Old Covenant background and source of 2 Peter chapter 3. I conflate it with several other key eschatological New Testament passages, and I show what Peter had in mind. He was not predicting the destruction of literal physical heaven and earth. He was talking about the destruction of the Old Covenant world of Israel, the Old Covenant heaven and earth. Okay, so what do we find in 2 Peter chapter 3? Well, we have a prediction based upon what the Old Testament prophets said was going to happen. Revelation chapter 21 tells us, chapter 22, verse 6, John's description of the day of the Lord, the great white throne judgment, the resurrection, and the new creation. After describing all of that, he then says, the God of the prophets testifies that these things are worthy and true and just, and the time is at hand. Now, you can't insert 2,000 years, ladies and gentlemen, and counting between the description of great white throne judgment, resurrection, new heaven and new earth, and these things must shortly come to pass. There is no break. There's no contextual break at all. So you have to be willing to insert 2,000 years between the description of Revelation 20 and 21 and chapter 22, verse 6. Grammatically, there is no break. You have to eisegetically insert a break. And remember, Revelation chapter 10, verse 6 and 7 says that in the sounding of the seventh trumpet, the mystery of God is foretold by the prophets. What prophets? The Old Testament prophets. And he has Daniel chapter 12 specifically in mind because he directly echoes the language of Daniel chapter 12. So, what is the mystery of God contained under the seventh trumpet? It's the resurrection, Revelation chapter 11, verse 15 and following. It's the time of the judgment of the nations. The time of the entrance into the most holy place. Because you see, John was told, no man could enter into the most holy place until the wrath of God, which would be poured out in the seventh bowl, would be completed. Well, the seventh bowl would be completed in the judgment of Babylon, i.e. the city where the Lord was crucified. See how easy that is. So here we have in Revelation the fact that it's the Old Testament prophets who foretold the resurrection, who foretold the time of the judgment of the nations. Oh, by the way, the completion of Sukkot. And here in Revelation chapter 20, what do we have? We have the time of the judgment. We have the time of the resurrection. We have the time of the judgment of the living and the dead. And all in conformity with the God of the prophets who says these things must shortly come to pass. He wasn't simply throwing the reference to the prophets in there as some superfluous issue. He's reminding us that the judgment, the resurrection, the new creation were foretold by the God of the prophets in the Old Testament. So here we have 2 Peter chapter 3. Peter's talking about the day of the Lord. Well, Revelation chapter 19 is the day of the Lord. It's the day of the Lord against Babylon. Once again, the city where the Lord was crucified. Now, some people try to delineate between the day of the Lord and the parousia. Even N.T. Wright has attempted to do that in some of his writings. That's absolutely untenable. 2 Peter chapter 3, the scoffers would come in the last days saying, where's the promise of his parousia? And then in 2 Peter chapter 3, verse 10 and following, the day of the Lord will come as a thief in the night. The parousia and the day of the Lord are the same identical feature, element, tenant, event. So 2 Peter 3 is about the day of the Lord. It's about the parousia. Revelation chapter 19 is the day of the Lord. Same event. 2 Peter chapter 3, according to his promise, what promise? Isaiah 65, Isaiah 66. According to his promise, we look for a new heaven and a new earth wherein dwells righteousness. So Peter is appealing to the old covenant for the promise of the day of the Lord and the new heaven and new earth. Revelation chapter 21, what do we find? I, John, saw a new heaven and a new earth, and I saw the new Jerusalem coming down from God out of heaven as a bride adorned for her husband. Where did that new heaven and new earth prophecy come from? From the God of the prophets, who said, these things must shortly come to pass. We thus have numerous dots, numerous constituent elements between 2 Peter chapter 3 and Revelation 20, actually 19 through 22. Now watch this. Remember what John is told in Revelation chapter 22, verse 6. These things must shortly come to pass. Revelation chapter 22, verse 10. John was told, do not seal the words of the prophecy of this book because the time is at hand, has literally drawn near, has arrived. The appointed time, kairos, has arrived. Now notice that Daniel, in his prophecy of the resurrection, the time of the kingdom, the time of the end, the time of the last day, was told, Daniel, seal up the words of the prophecy of this book because it is many days to come. It's a long time off. John is reiterating the prophecies of Daniel. Now watch, from Daniel until John, I'm going to round the numbers off, okay? I'm not trying to be precise. From Daniel to John, it's 500 years. Daniel was told it's a long time off. John was told, reiterating Daniel, do not seal the book because the time has drawn near. The appointed time has arrived. So we're supposed to believe that Daniel was told the events were far off, and it was 500 years from Daniel until John. John repeats the prophecies of Daniel, and John was told, don't seal the book because the appointed time has arrived. And yet we're supposed to believe that the fulfillment of Revelation, 2,000 years and counting, 2,500 years removed from the time of Daniel, it still hasn't happened yet. Daniel, seal the book, the time is not near. Revelation, don't seal the book containing the prophecies of Daniel because the time has arrived. Revelation chapter 22, verse 11, that judgment, the great white throne judgment, was so near, so imminent, so urgently near that John was told, let the wicked remain wicked. Let the unjust remain unjust. Let the righteous remain righteous. Now, let me ask you, if you are in a futurist church, is the message of the minister week after week after week who says, oh, we're waiting on the fulfillment of Revelation? Well, wait a minute. John was told that the time was so near, so urgent, so close, let the wicked remain wicked. Has that been the mission and message of the church for 2,000 years? Let the wicked remain wicked? Argumentum ad desperatum here, folks. And then Revelation chapter 22, verse 12. Behold, I come quickly, and my reward is with me. What reward is he talking about? The unjust go into the lake of fire. The just enter the new heaven and new earth. My reward is with me to reward to every man. Would that include just and unjust? According to his works. Behold, I come quickly. And we're supposed to believe, well, he wasn't talking about when that was going to be fulfilled. He wasn't saying his coming was imminent. He was just saying when he finally gets around to coming, he's going to ride the fastest cloud out of heaven. And then in Revelation chapter 22 and verse 10, or excuse me, verse 20, once again, these things must shortly come to pass. Folks, listen to me. How many times did God have to say something before we finally admit that he's right? You know, I had somebody write on Facebook just the other day, the end is near. Satan has been loose for a little season, and the end has drawn near. Now, they're using those words, imminent and near and soon, quickly and shortly, in a very prosaic, literalistic manner. And we're supposed to take their word for it. And yet, when God said, God who cannot lie, when God said 2,000 years ago that the time had come, and Jesus said he was coming quickly, we don't have to believe that. Now, compare that with Peter. Peter's talking about the day of the Lord. Peter's talking about the new creation. Peter's talking about the fulfillment of the Old Testament prophets. What do you have to say about that? Well, in 1 Peter chapter 4 and verse 5, he said, the Lord, that's Jesus, is ready. From the Greek word hetoimos, and it means not only morally prepared, but temporally imminent. Alfred's Greek Testament says the Greek reader would have understood this of the imminent judge. The judge is ready, or Christ is ready to judge 2,000 years ago, the living and the dead. 1 Peter chapter 4 and verse 7, the end of all things has drawn near, or the end of all things is here. They were living on the precipice of the end. 1 Peter chapter 4 and verse 17, the appointed time for the end has come. So we have Peter talking about the end. We have Peter talking about the fulfillment of Old Testament prophets. We have Peter talking about the parousia. We have Peter talking about the new heaven and new earth. We have Peter saying it was coming soon. The time had arrived. The appointed time had arrived. We have John in Revelation talking about the coming of the Lord. We have John talking about the judgment of all men, the rewarding of all men, either to condemnation or to reward in new heaven and new earth, and over and over and over again. John was told, these things must shortly come to pass. Well, ladies and gentlemen, it takes some manipulation of the text. It takes ignoring the text. It takes perverting the text to take these passages, rip them out of that imminent context, and place it in our future. And remember, the day of the Lord of 2 Peter chapter 3 is therefore the day of the Lord of Revelation. And it's also the day of the Lord, the parousia. Because Peter's talking about the parousia of Matthew 25:31 and following. That means that Peter was saying that the fulfillment of Matthew chapter 25:31 and following was coming soon, shortly, and the time had arrived. That means that the day of the Lord and the new creation was coming soon, shortly, so shortly that John was told, let the wicked remain wicked. That's applicable to Matthew 25. Jesus said that while he was still alive. John wrote it at the end of that generation. Folks, it was fulfilled. It is fulfilled. Mankind in Christ has been restored to the Father. That's good news. Hey, I'm out of time. Don't forget my wonderful 2-book special for the rest of August 2023, U.S. orders only. Total delivered price $45, which will save you over $12. Go to my website, donkeypreston.com, BibleProphecy.com. Banner up at the top, click on it, order the books. You'll be awfully glad that you did. Thanks again. Remember, may or may not be with you on Friday or Saturday. I gotta get this thing checked out. I know it looks okay right now, but I'm having some problems. Okay, so I'll see you next time.